then there might be some negative health consequences to that, and you might end up looking puffy. What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to react to another reaction video towards Paige Shay. She seems to be getting a lot of controversy, a lot of hate online. I mean, you just gotta go through her comment sections in her shorts. A lot of nasty stuff there. And today I'm going to react to this video of Unnatural Vegan. I know I already did another reaction video towards one of her haters, Abby Sharp, and I for some reason really seem to enjoy debunking people who are concerned about eating too much fruit, because fruit and eating fruit has changed my life so much. So I'm just very passionate about bringing clarity into this conversation. Now, as always, I do not have anything against Unnatural Vegan. I'm just here to share my opinion and to kind of maybe help some people who are still concerned about this way of eating realize that fruit is incredible and amazing. So let's get into it.
Looks like there's a new Freelie in town. Her name is Paige Shay. She's on TikTok. She is blonde like Freelie. She's thin like Freelie. And she eats Freelie's Raw Till 4 diet. Fruit for breakfast, fruit for lunch, and potatoes and lettuce for dinner. Now, having watched literally hundreds of Paige's TikToks and, I don't know, dozens of her What I Eat Todays, I have found some pretty major differences between the two fruit ladies. For one thing, Paige really emphasizes greens.
I think leafy greens are so important, and I think that we should be including them in our diet every day because you're going to get a lot of good vitamins, minerals.
She says they really help her with cravings for like junk foods and stuff, I guess, which was definitely the case for me. Oh yeah, did I mention that I used to eat this way? I used to eat a fruit-based raw vegan diet. Well,
I will say though that Freelie has always been also emphasizing greens. I remember there was like a What I Eat in a Day video very long time ago where she didn't have any greens with her dinner and she was like, I don't have any greens tonight, but it'll be fine for one night. So it's not that Freelie never said don't eat any greens.
Well, I did. I did Freelie's 30 bananas a day. This is when she was still raw. Cooked food was toxic. Pre-Raw Till 4. And yeah, that plan did not emphasize vegetables and lettuce at all. It was really focused on fruit. And I pretty much always wanted savory things. I craved tomatoes. Once I started...
But that's the thing, like, I don't really feel like the Raw Till 4 lifestyle or the fruit-based lifestyle is like... Just because there's one emphasis on fruit doesn't mean you cannot have all the other things. That's something that stresses me out so much about this, is that people just attach themselves to blind principles. Okay, this is how Freelie eats, so now I'm gonna eat the exact same way. And I'm so done with this. Like, since I started to no longer like identify myself as someone who eats like this person, or who eats like this person, or who is a Raw Till 4 person, or who is a vegan person, it's been so much easier for me to actually just listen to my body. If I crave more tomatoes, if I crave more greens, then of course I'll have more of those things. And not just because Freelie doesn't eat tomatoes, I'm not gonna eat tomatoes, you know? I think it's so important that when we come to this lifestyle, we realize that we're eating better than 99%. I mean, I don't want to say better and put this diet on a pedestal and say it's better or worse, but we're eating a very healthy, a very nutritious, you know, nutrient-dense diet. So it's not that important about these small little things, whether you drink reverse osmosis or distilled water, or whether you eat potatoes or rice for dinner, or whether you have melon or orange juice for breakfast. Like, all these things are not important. What's important is that you do what you enjoy. So I just wanted to get that straight out of the way.
Incorporating a giant salad at the end of every day, I felt so much better. Another huge difference is salt. Freelie is anti-salt. She does not add it to any foods, which could be a huge problem. It's estimated that we need about 500 milligrams per day just for vital function.
Of sodium. We need 500 milligrams of sodium, not of salt. And sodium is contained abundantly in vegetables, even in fruits, you know, coconut water. But yeah, tomatoes, celery, lettuce, there is plenty of sodium in all of these foods. And the problem with table salt is that it is an inorganic mineral. So our body doesn't know what to do with that. So when we ingest salt, and I'm sure probably all of you have experienced this before, when you've had like a big amount of salt at night, the next morning you look kind of puffy, versus when I don't eat any salt in one day, my face looks super lean the next day. So yeah, I think it's definitely important to get the sodium in. I've tried eating just fruit and no vegetables, and I really felt like a craving for sodium, especially when you don't have access to stuff like coconut water or things like that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with like not eating salt. I don't think there's anything wrong with eating salt either. It's just, do you want to be puffy or do you want to look lean? Yes, you can also look lean if you exercise and sweat and you eat salt, then I don't think it's a problem. But if you, for example, live in a cold climate and you do not exercise and you eat, I don't know, let's say 4 or 5 grams of salt every day, then there might be some negative health consequences to that, and you might end up looking puffy. Now, if you're looking for some delicious salt and oil-free recipes that have helped me eliminate puffiness, bloating, and overweight, then check out the free link in my description box where you can get my Flat Tummy Feast cookbook. And I hope you enjoy these recipes.
And if you do like a lot of endurance training, if you sweat a whole lot, like a lot of raw foodists do, like Freely does, she likes her running and cycling, you could need a lot more sodium.
Again, and then you would just have to eat more vegetables if you don't want to get any salt. Still important for sure.
If you're only eating greens and fruit, you very likely are not getting 500 milligrams per day. If we look at this example from Paige, 2,500 calories, yet less than 250 milligrams of sodium. Now, while Paige does seem to encourage salt-free, she doesn't actually exclude salt from her diet. She seems to put like 1/4 of a teaspoon in this entire soup and in her curries, which doesn't seem like a lot, but she eats the entire soup or curry.
So I have 2 theories here about the sodium. So one might be that, chronometer is maybe not as accurate when it comes to the sodium, and the other one is that the daily average of what you have to have in your diet is way higher than what we actually need, which I have found to be the case for a couple of other nutrients as well. So yeah, that's how I can explain that. All right, we're here on my chronometer because I was actually curious about the sodium, and I pulled up a couple of days where I was tracking what I ate. I don't track my calories every day, but every once in a while I like to do it just to get a rough overview. And I checked out how much sodium I'm getting, and these are days where most of them I haven't been consuming any salt. And then here, for example, it was almost fully raw, and I have been getting 1 gram of sodium. Then here was fully raw. I had a huge salad at night, and that day I even have as a what I eat in a day. So if you want to check that out, that day I got 720 milligrams of sodium, no salt, no cooked food. So yeah, that's it. I've been tracking it for 3 days. So you can see you can definitely get more than enough sodium, even if you don't consume any salt.
Now, Freely is not known for being particularly nice, whereas Paige
I never judge anyone for where they are.
seems pretty nice. So that's nice. Unfortunately,
I agree. I also really, really like Paige because she's so real. Like, I don't feel like she fakes anything, and she really just shows what she does. Whereas a lot of other people, I feel like, aren't 100% upfront and honest about what they're doing. And Paige, I really feel like is. So that's why I really like her.
this one is not so nice. Maybe I missed it, but to my knowledge, Paige makes no mention of B12 in any of her TikToks. The closest I could find was this reply in the comments on one of her TikToks where she talks about sometimes taking zinc, vitamin C, vitamin B, whatever that is. I hope for her sake she is taking B12 and is consistent about it. Regardless, promoting a vegan diet, literally any...
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I personally found a huge shift in how I feel on an everyday basis since I started supplementing with B12. It's very important to do that. But yeah.
Vegan diet without explicitly stating that people need to take B12 if they are not eating animal products is dangerous. I really, really, really wish she would mention B12, at least in her What I Eat Todays. Now, to be fair, while Freely has talked about B12, specifically B12 injections, for many years, she doesn't really emphasize it either. I watched a few of her recent What I Eat Todays. She doesn't mention it. And it seems when she has talked,
I think the reason many people don't mention it is just because it's so blatantly obvious. Like, it's being talked so much about. Like, if you go vegan and you decide to embark on a lifestyle like that, I think if you research it, if you just do a quick like Google search, you'll immediately find, hey, it's important to supplement B12. Also, if you go to the doctor, they'll probably tell you that. So I think it's just very obvious and just common knowledge, common sense that you would want to do that. That's why it's not important to mention that in every single video, but at least Freely has mentioned it at least sometimes, but you don't have to mention it like in every video, right?
And it's been shown that I think it's about 50% of Americans are B12 deficient. And that's only of the people who have been tested. 50% is huge, okay? So it's likely you probably do have a deficiency, especially if you're really struggling to lose that last bit of weight or that cellulite and you're doing everything right. You're following the lifestyle, that I am setting out. You're having enough water, you're sleeping, getting enough carbs, keeping the fat low, and of course doing this consistently long enough to get good results. So that may be your thing. That may be the issue. How can you learn about B12? Like where can you get it from? You can get it off the internet, I've heard. I always get it, from the pharmacy, from the drugstore. I think they call it drugstore in America. And just over the counter, it's a couple of bucks.